After 8 years, alternative rock band Brand New have returned with their final and 5th studio album. Nowadays, Brand New's music may sound a bit like standard fare for alternative rock and post-grunge music, post-hardcore and emo influences as well, especially if you listen to an album like Deja Entendu or The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. But the truth is, they were actually a pretty massive influence on this entire post-grunge, mid-2000s rock sound. And those albums that I just mentioned are very worth exploring into if you're curious about what Brand New have done that has been critically acclaimed and celebrated over the years. I wouldn't say the album after that, Daisy, was the most critically acclaimed. It was certainly a lot more experimental, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. This new album, Science Fiction, though, is easily the most chilling and despondent record yet in terms of its sound and its atmosphere. The very first track, Lit Me Up, has a bit of a field recording in it. It very much sounds like the atmosphere for the street that is depicted on this album cover. And all over this album, you are getting equally as chilling and despondent tracks here, such as Same Logic / Teeth, a track that is a little more whimsical with its vocal styles. Sort of gave me a bit of a Modest Mouse, Isaac Brock twang to it when it came to the vocal performances. I thought these quirky, twangy vocal deliveries at times really helped to sell the emotional intensity of the track. It's sort of like spiraling out of control almost.
At the bottom of the ocean, fish won't judge you by your faults.
Elsewhere you have more traditional Brand New, like typical Brand New songs like No Control, which has a bit more of a traditional chord structure there, very recognizable, very catchy. And you have Can't Get It Out as well, which features this roaring chorus that is definitely quite the chiller. I love it a lot, and Can't Get It Out seems to be a bit of a self-aware reflection on Brand New's lyrical content. In fact, I think this whole album really is a bit of a reflection on Brand New's discography and influence as a band, as well as just their work in general. Many references to previous albums and previous songs, even some very similar melodies to previous Brand New songs pop up on this thing. So in that respect, I do think that this album is a very fitting conclusion to Brand New, and very touching as well, very emotionally radiant, and very crushing at times, especially with tracks like Out of Manner. But the song Can't Get It Out in particular seems to be very much acknowledging the typical subject matter or the mood of a Brand New song, which is usually a very crushingly sad sort of mood. They seem to acknowledge that if there is happiness that they're trying to portray in a song, it's very hard to get that out. To be honest though, the album is very slow with its pace. It takes a long time for things to really build up over time, and because of that, this may be a bit of a grower for fans. Although that wouldn't really be my gripe with the album, because I do think that Brand New are still switching things up. They're still experimenting a lot, especially with the many tracks on here that take a bit of a country twang to them as well, which I thought was quite interesting. So stylistic changes do pop up here, as well as the track Desert, which is a little more subdued and syrupy in its sound. However, my main issue that kind of prevents me from really attaching myself to this album is the fact that, to me at least, 10 years ago this would have sounded so groundbreaking and brilliant, whereas I think now the post-grunge alternative rock sound that this album takes on isn't that wowing anymore. Granted, there are still brilliant songs here, but I do think that the style that this album takes on isn't that... Well, it's just not Brand New. It's enjoyable as a Brand New album, but I'm not really getting a massive kick. It just feels like a sound that has long since been explored. I don't think Science Fiction is an album worth skimming over or dismissing, because I think it's a good album. It's just that for me, this isn't something that's totally mind-blowing, as opposed to an album that just has several tracks that I really like, as well as just something that I think is a fitting conclusion to Brand New. Just not an album from Brand New that in the long run is going to really stick with me that impactfully. I'm going to give this album an honest 6 out of 10. Fair enough if you don't agree, and fair enough if you enjoy this album a lot, because I can totally see the appeal there.